You know, I used to be on the morning announcements.
I did not know that.
Let me know if you think this sounds stupid. That should be the first part.
Welcome to Between Two Lenses.
I'm Kael, Vox.
And I'm Zak.
Together we're here to explore the world of photography and creating through a different lens, a more honest lens and from a less technical perspective.
As two female photographers, we navigate a unique journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and joys of creating art through our lenses.
We'll be talking about our work, reacting to yours, exploring the impact of beauty standards in our field, and what it's like being a woman in this industry.
So whether you're a seasoned photographer, a beginner, or just someone who appreciates honest chat, we hope to inspire you to see the world in a new light and maybe make you laugh a little.
As Reinhardt said, art is too serious to be taken seriously.
This is Between Two Lenses. Let's get into it. I'm sweating a little.
Okay.
Can you talk
Hello.
a little louder?
I'm Zak, reporting live for Channel 2 Action News at 10.
Okay, just making sure it was working.
Should I wear the sunglasses?
No.
Okay.
Unless you want to.
I would have them, like, so you can pop it up.
Should I have them? I wish I was Alex Mack. Like, did she remember that show? When she was like, oh, thank you. Look, it was like I was a wizard. Are we recording?
We are officially recording. We are recording. You're recording sound. Okay.
Okay.
Where should we start?
Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this?
Well, I think every time we get together, like, we always are like, we should have filmed this, we should have recorded this, because we have so many different, like, things that happen to us in our career paths that we're like, we need to talk about this. We need to let other people know our little secrets and, like, what we go through as, like, people in the industry.
Well, and I think people can probably relate. Maybe. Possibly. Yeah, actually today when we got together, we started talking and you were like, okay, stop talking. Because we stopped talking. Save it. So we just talked about other shit. We're going to talk about other shit on here too. Life shit,
for sure.
Some life shit, some photo shit, industry shit.
Okay.
I
feel like really stupid. At least we'll know. At least we tried it.
No, okay, we're gonna sound stupid for like the first 5. And then we're gonna everyone sounds really fucking stupid on their first podcast.
Do they though?
Yes. Go back and listen to any of your favorite. The first time they're like, I don't know what to talk about, and then like 3 in, they're like, killing it. I mean, we're already killing it. So
I show what I'm wearing underneath these. Gotta put them back on though.
What
just
does
in
that
case.
even do?
They're just supposed to, like, so I don't scare people with my nipples. I mean, I've got great nipples, but just in case.
Oh, just in case, like a nip slip.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it just looks like I don't have nipples. Instead, just chicken cutlets.
People are doing like the nipple bras now though. That's like the nipples are in. You don't like the nipple bra?
Well, no, I mean, I do, but like I feel like this would be like an accident. You know, like those are like you put the shirt on and you're like, nipples. I want my nipples to be seen and heard.
Yeah, this would be like an accident.
This would be exactly. Yes.
Different vibe.
Okay, cool. Back to you.
Out of the way. Okay, wait. So I think we should just jump right into the questions.
They don't know who we are.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, you go
okay. First. All right. Hi, I'm Zak, reporting live from Studio A in Alpharetta. I'm a photographer. I also model for an agency called Click out of Atlanta. I've been in the industry for, do I say? Because then I'm aging myself, for a very long time, since 2002. And then I've known Kael through passing because we used to shoot out of the same studio. And maybe the past like few years, like her and I have been like connecting back and forth, and we have so much fun together, and we always have like a great conversation, and yeah, that's how we got together.
Yeah, I'm Kael Vox. I'm also a photographer. I do video as well, filmmaking, etc. I used to model. I don't really model anymore, except for like my friends that are shooting, and even that is rare. I'll model for you because I like the way you shoot me.
But I love when you model for me.
I'm like, no. Like people will ask me now and I'm like, no, because I just don't want to do it.
No. Why?
Because I feel like it's like I can shoot myself.
Better than other people can shoot you. But that's a big compliment, y'all.
Like not like I wasted my time, but like sometimes, you know, you've probably been there where you're like you're shooting with somebody and then you get the pictures back and you're like,
I need a facelift.
what
That's
the
what I'll do. I'm like, oh my God, I need to go see my
this
girl.
is the
I need
best we got.
Yeah.
Like that's what we got. But also you put so much time and energy into that. You put your outfit and your makeup and your hair and you feel like you look perfect and then you get the pictures and you're like,
Am I supposed to look at the camera when I'm talking, or do I keep looking at you? Because I keep being like, and back to you. I don't know.
I don't really know. What do other people do in the I feel like they just talk.
They talk, but I think we're supposed to have next time we will have 2 cameras.
Yeah, next time this is a bare bones because we were just trying to get the first one done because we're supposed to start in January. So now it's February, almost March. And today she had 2 shoots. So we're just, you know, getting it in where we can fit it in 1 camera today. But in the future, it'll be better.
Veto, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
I think it's still going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, well, the important thing is we're getting it done.
Yes. Perfect.
Was there something else?
No,
that's basically who I am. Oh, no, this is the crazy this is the crazy part is that what you were saying before, you didn't really go into detail, but it's not like, oh, we knew each other in passing. We didn't actually know each other. We were just passing.
This is true.
For years, because I had a studio at the goat farm, if you remember what the goat farm was, because it is not the same anymore. Now
It's still
like
there, but it's not what it is.
huge rental spaces that are like way overpriced. It did not used to be. It used to be like a very lovely art community. It was fantastic. I had a studio there. One of her friends also had a studio there. Me and her friend were friends and colleagues, but we never actually met. We were just like kind of rotating in the same spheres.
Yeah.
And then met years later, which was bizarre.
Yeah.
I still think about that.
But then that's why we became so tight too, because we knew a common person that we loved too.
Yeah.
And then we had like this immediate trust to like talk about some of the struggles that we go through as photographers and female photographers in like a world that's predominantly men, especially within like the fashion or creative.
I still think it's like that. I think it's changing really, really slowly, but I still think we get a lot of pushback.
Oh, I do too.
It's infinitely harder for women in this industry.
I think so too, especially, I don't know. I think too for like, if you want to do maybe like newborn photography, which is great, or like wedding, then I feel like women and maybe the men and women have it 50-50, but I think within the niches that we're in, which we don't do wedding or newborn photography or families, that, I mean, I will do families.
Yeah,
we'll do anything actually. We'll shoot anything. But like, that's not our niches. And, but it's really hard. It's competitive and it's difficult sometimes.
Yeah. Or it's just, people don't really take you as seriously. I think people expect women to like the more lovey-dovey, cozy things like babies and stuff. And I don't care about babies at all. That sounds really bad, but I just
hates babies.
Did you see the movie Poor Things?
No.
You have to see it. It's like the best film that may have ever been made. Super, super funny, super well written, very wildly artistic. There's nothing else that I've seen that's like it. It's brilliantly done. And it basically touches on all the shit that women have to go through in our life. But one of the scenes, she's like, I want to punch that baby.
Was it crying in a store?
It was crying in a restaurant.
Oh, God.
But she has no filter of like what's like acceptable to say in like public, right? So she just says things. But the thing is, I feel like women in general, with anything like that, I feel like men are expected to be harder, more direct, more whatever, assertive. If women are like that, because that's how both of us are, right? And so when you're like that, you're really labeled as difficult to work with. You're a bitch. You're cold. You're whatever. But if the men were getting the same thing, right, which is kind of
she's feisty. I'm like,
okay. If it's from a woman, I take that as a compliment.
Yeah,
if it's from a man, I feel like that's a little demeaning.
It is. What do you think, Katie?
I like spicy.
Okay, we'll take
I like
spicy though.
Spicy is better than feisty. What?
Tahini? Oh, I like tahini. I drink it on my
good.
Diet Coke.
On your Diet Coke? In your Diet Coke?
No, I put it on the rim.
Like a little
so I can feel like I'm a part of.
Margarita.
Yeah. With a lime, a cocarita. I don't drink.
I
But
don't
yeah,
drink either.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. That's
Better
another
this
thing.
way.
It is better this way most days.
I like a really well-made cocktail that for the creative aspect of a very well-made cocktail, but I have no interest of drinking or getting drunk.
No, I can't because I'll turn into a gremlin and break out in handcuffs.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! That's it. That's us.
That's basically us. So we're
Okay.
going to do this thing. So I have a couple of questions. These are probably going to be very non-important, but
But you're gonna listen.
But you're going to listen anyway. Because, you know, it's just a like get to know you kind of session.
Are you gonna cut some of this too?
Yeah.
Or are we just gonna leave
Oh,
it?
yeah, I'm going to cut it and edit it.
Okay.
So this is why people plan, usually.
Unlike us.
You're like, you want to do a podcast? Yeah. Okay. Done. No planning.
This doesn't work.
there's not even a plug. We do have mics though, so we are semi-professional. Proof. Okay, so what's one thing you wish you would have known when you first started taking photos?
That the hustle never stops. Like it never stops. Like you have to keep going. You have to figure out different ways. You cannot stay stuck in your same lighting, your same editing style. Nothing stays the same. So not only do you hustle trying to get business 24/7 and getting that flow, but you also have to hustle like creatively inside within your brain, like to push yourself and not stay stagnant, or else it becomes incredibly depressing for me. I get really sad doing what I'm doing if I don't mix it up, change it up. But I wish someone would have told me that, like the hustle, like just never ever stops. It's like you have to keep reinventing yourself. And yes, you do get like this flow that like clients come in and then they recommend you and they suggest you and whatnot. But it's still like you just do not stop because there's always somebody else that's doing great, doing awesome things that you have to compete with constantly. And I don't look at anybody else's stuff. Do you?
No, I actually, this is something I talked to my friend about recently. She had sent me a couple of things that were in the same hemisphere of what she does, right? And she was like, oh, this is like when you wish you would have done it first because it's like kind of in your alley, but you know, yeah, it's really bad for you. And I told her, I was like, oh, girl, I was like, this is a huge lesson that I'm trying to implement within my life. I don't look at other people's shit. And it's not because I don't want to support anybody else or don't want to obviously cheer on my friends. I do, and I do it, but I limit it severely because I've realized in this creative realm, there's only so many things and someone is going to be doing something similar to you. And if you see it, you will get into the headspace of like, that was my idea. I wanted to do that. And then you're just in like this weird tailspin of like competitiveness. And so I just don't look. I just try not to look.
I don't either. I don't look.
It's better that way.
I have like a couple. I will say though, I think you and I know we've talked about this before, that like I really try my best to find like maybe 2 people that are like not within my network that I think that they are like stronger photographers than myself, and then one where I feel like we are on like the same playing field, and then one that I can teach. And I feel like that keeps me really grounded
like
as
well.
Yeah, but that is it. I like love talking to you because I feel like we're like growing on this like awesome path like together, and we have different strong suits and different weaknesses. Well, I don't know if you have any. I have weaknesses. She doesn't have any weaknesses.
No, I absolutely have weaknesses.
But like it's really fun to have someone that's like growing with you too, without being like competitive with them.
Just it's smart to limit it like that because it's when you get too many. And then you get an endless scrolling, and then
it's really bad.
Health, like on every level.
No, and then I'll get in thing like, wait, like I'll start looking. I'm like, that wasn't their original idea. I swear I saw it from somebody else. Or I'll think all these different things while I'm looking at these images, and then their image will get like published in like a magazine. I'm like, but that wasn't even their original idea. I remember talking about that with you.
Oh yeah, there was a huge. Well, I'm sure we'll
go into that. cheaters, pumpkin eaters. So yeah.
This is what we were talking about before when you were like, shh, because I agree with that. I agree that you joked that you're always going to be poor. But I was telling her that I went to Tokyo recently for a film fest that one of my films was in. And one of the documentaries that I saw was incredible. It was an Italian documentary about artists, and you could talk to artists all day long. There are so many of us, and the information inside the documentary was so imperative and important for artists to hear. And one of the main things that were like the common thread between all of the artists involved, no matter what the medium, was that the hustle never stops. They basically were like, if you're waiting for it to get easier, bow out gracefully and go do something else. Because in every other field imaginable, if you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, whatever, you have specific things you do, check, check, check. You go to school, you get this, you get that. You reach this level and you're set. That's like what you do. You could do continued learning, but once you're there, you're pretty much there. The artist lifestyle is the only thing in the world that is just not like that. You have to continuously, it is a continuous rotating door of creation, destruction,
reinventing.
Yeah, it's just, it never ends. And there was
Die to
one guy
live,
on
die
there
to
that
live.
was like 100 years old, and he still was saying like, I'm 100, like it's still happening.
Yeah.
So it's never going to just stop. If you're waiting for it to stop, then you just need to retire. Because, and that is something I wish, it was actually refreshing to hear that, because I think we do get caught into this, like, when I make this amount, it'll be enough, or when I reach this level, it'll be enough. But in our field, it's not like that. It's going to be a forever thing. There's going to be the next level. There's going to be the next creation that we're going to be making. So that's important to hear. Also, I would say the other thing I would recommend, like what I wish I would have known then, would be stop trying to please everyone else.
Oh, yeah.
Like, don't shoot how you think other people want you to shoot, because that's like another big trap that people in our field fall into, because we're bombarded with everyone else's stuff. We're like, oh, should I be shooting like that? And then we kind of lose what we actually want to do. And I think it's really important. We get lost because there's so many things. We can do it all. But I've realized I took really good advice from someone saying, like, you don't have to show everything you're working on. You don't have to show every client that you do. Show what you want to be hired for, what you want to shoot.
100%.
And I think that's really important, because we do get kind of lost in like trying to like make everyone else happy and like have all these clients and look at all the stuff I'm doing. And then we completely lose ourselves as artists.
100%. I was working with someone that is a newer photographer, and he was asking me like how I got my style. Like, how did you figure out your style? And I was like, it wasn't anything that like I figured out. It was more of just trial and error. And I remember thinking and asking that same question to Alex. And I was like, how did you like find your style, or like what you're doing? He's like, Alex, just keep shooting and like add lights, take away lights, figure out your poses, the angle of which you're having your light, the different modifiers. And once I found what I liked and what I was like good at and what I was comfortable with, I started then to just apply that to most of my photographs, and then add and subtract different lights. But I always had one constant, and just knowing, I guess, like how to build upon that was like really good. Instead of trying to figure out like what type of photographer, I want to be gritty or don't want to be clean or whatever it may be, like you can change that as you go. But it's just weird how your style develops over time. Yeah. So, like, now I can see one of your photographs and I'm like, oh, Kael's like that. You know, like I'll see it through like Instagram before I even see that it says Kael. I'm like, oh, she did that.
Style is something I've been like thinking about a lot, because it's something that for a long time, because I like to shoot so many different things. And I realize I can, you know, but the best people or the most successful people are the ones that have a very specific style that, you know, as soon as I feel the same way about your stuff. As soon as I see something, I'm like, Alex shot that.
Thank you.
And usually I'm right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I like it.
I think that means I think that's when you start, I think there's like a crest when you're coming up on the other side of actually knowing yourself as a creator. And I feel like people can some people just have it, which is like good for them. But I also think sometimes it takes years to develop. And also you can totally change, you know? And I think like drowning out all the noise and all the excess. And then one day it just like you're over the hump and you're like, oh, yeah, everything kind of clicks.
Everything clicks. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah,
I agree.
like it too. I need some water. My throat is very
dry. I need to take this coat off. I'm getting hot.
Shit. Yeah. Okay. Pause.
Okay. Pause.
You guys are doing great.
Okay, perfect.
It sounds very authentic.
Do you want real water?
Yeah, I just want those down here.
About like being a female in industry, you know, as like a leader, and like to your point about everyone's like, you're a bitch. I'm like, I'm trying to have a business. Like, I have to maintain a level of like a, you know, a lifestyle and things. Whereas, like, if a guy does it, they're like, oh, no one says shit.
Exactly.
So
that's my issue, is that if we were men, nothing would be said.
Photo.
Not us having a wardrobe change in the middle.
We got hot.
We got a little hot. Also, we need a little water. I get so we've kind of been talking about how we both think are you diagnosed neurodivergent? Or are you just assuming?
I think everyone's been like, she's on the spectrum of something.
Yeah. I feel like the more that I'm learning about it, the more I'm realizing I definitely am. One of my tics is that I have like a nervous, I get like when I get anxious, I have like a really anxious, like I have an anxious swallow. I literally can't stop swallowing. It's like a thing.
Yeah.
So I started feeling like that. So I'm like, I just need a little water. It's a thing.
You can't swallow?
It drives me nuts.
Like
no,
that?
I can't. I swallow repeatedly, like over and over and over, like a psychopath. Like,
huh.
Yeah, it's like a thing. I've had it since I was like young, and I didn't know it was like a neurodivergent thing until someone told me recently. It's called somatic OCD. I have a
tick?
OCD tick. Yeah,
Huh.
I have OCD like in other ways too, but like it's not like people think of OCD like a crazy person, like cleaning, like you know that kind, and that's like a type. But there's lots of different types of OCD, and one of them is so bad, where it's like things that should be like normal, like your body just does naturally if you're not aware of.
You start to concentrate on it?
Yeah.
Got it.
So,
Are you
like,
doing it right now?
When my anxiety gets high, it's like, or if you're supposed to be really quiet, like in a yoga class or something like that, or even if I'm laying next to somebody, I've like slept over like friends' houses, and I like will repeatedly swallow like a psychopath, and I'll be like, "Can you hear that?" One time I was laying with my friend, and I was like swallowing over and over, and it sounds like loud in my head. So I was like, wait, I just want to ask you something, because I was wondering if if my partners could hear it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm like, can you hear that?
I can't.
And she was like, no. And I was like, wait. Did you hear that? She was like,
I'm doing it right now.
yeah, it's a thing.
Okay.
So I was kind of experiencing that.
Okay.
Also, the fact that you were doing it is a neurodivergent thing. We can we'll pick up on my tics. Hopefully you won't pick
I
up
don't
on
need
that.
another one.
Do you have anything like that?
I mean, I vape. I think it's,
Oh, yeah.
maybe that's a
I
thing.
have an eyelash in my eye. Hang on. Okay, I definitely have a fuzz in my eye, but we're just going to keep going because we don't have time.
We gotta go.
So yeah, somatic OCD. If you guys have like tics that you can't get rid of, maybe you have that. Oh, LOL.
How did you get good at photography?
That's a really stupid question. Isn't it a stupid question? That's weird.
Tons and tons of trial and error. Like I've shot with my lens cap on my lens.
I do that. I every time. 9 out of 10 times when I
Lots
pick
of
up my
error.
camera, I'm like, it's my lens.
Lots of free shoots.
Lots of free shoots.
Getting good enough so that you had beautiful people or interesting people to like add more of oomph into your photos.
Yeah.
So that people would be drawn to select you to hire, right?
Yeah. I think that's something that's still like
a lot of money
always
for your
going.
equipment.
Yeah, the equipment.
It's expensive.
Well, yes and no, because I do believe like I feel like if you're a good photographer, you can shoot with a $12 camera off of Amazon.
We had the same camera. Now we have the same camera again, but we both shot with. I shot with an ancient Canon Rebel from a pawn shop. I was about to say from a porn store, but
I was like a very, very cheap Nikon girl.
Yeah,
I think it was the same era of
same era camera
for years.
Now we both shoot with a Sony A7 IV.
Yeah.
And that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's great.
Which is amazing.
But I still like my other camera too.
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's important because I feel like as the technology gets better, it's a difference in like a good photographer and a great photographer, because anybody that's using a good piece of equipment can get decent shots, right?
This is true.
But you have to, I really do believe that you have to have some sort of artistic eye to be a great photographer. It's not just something you can, I feel like you can, like we talk about this a lot, you can learn all the technical stuff.
Which is why we're not technical. Ever.
Sometimes this camera still does stuff and I'm like,
dude, that camera is like a Tesla.
What is it doing now?
I'm like, turn on.
I feel like you can be, even people that are shooting with very, very inexpensive stuff sometimes blow me away.
Yes.
I think that's important. But yeah, just shooting a ton, and being really bad.
Really
It's like
bad.
that thing saying like you have to be bad before you're good at something because you need the mistakes. And I still feel like I have. Do you have imposter syndrome still?
Oh yeah.
Or have you gone on that? Yeah, me too.
I think
Like sometimes
until the day I die.
Like I feel like some days I wake up and I'm like, I am God. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I have
I'm
no
great.
balance. I'm either the shit
Yeah.
or I am
I'm
shit.
garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm the worst ever. What am I doing?
feel
Like
like
what
that
am I gonna
too.
do next? Like how am I gonna in my head?
Yeah. I feel like that too.
And then I freeze, and then the next day it's gone.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it depends on the day that you ask, like, how did you get good
And the
at
time of the month.
photography?
For me, for sure.
Like, I don't know if I, like, you know, I think I would answer different every day. Like some days I would think, you know, like all the practice and then blah, blah, blah. And then other days I'd be like, I don't think I'm that good yet. I think it depends.
I think we're gonna get even better as time goes on.
Yeah, I think that the repeated action, anything you spend time doing repeatedly, you're going to get better at. It's just like science, it's math. And so that's the biggest. How many hours does it take to achieve greatness? 10,000 hours, or is it 100,000 hours? I think it's 10,000.
I think it's 10,000.
10,000. So I have no
10,000.
idea where I'm at right now, but I always keep that in mind because as long as you're doing something, actively shooting, you're going to get better.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then getting more comfortable with like how to talk to people. So if you're not like extroverted at all, like think how to get really great at photography is being like people feeling comfortable around you.
Mhm.
Like, are you open and like honest and like make them feel comfortable within your studio? Like I try to make people feel like they're at home.
Yeah.
Like make yourself at home. Like it's not a pretentious place to be. Like be like it's girlfriends. Like it's we're hanging out, we're having fun. So I think a big thing too was like how the more comfortable I got in my skin, the more comfortable my clients could feel how confident I was. And then they were able to relax because they felt like I was in control of the situation.
Yeah.
That was a big thing, a big turning point too. And I noticed that in the past couple of years that my clients come in being like, okay, she's got me.
Yeah.
And they've seen like their friends like transform. I wish so bad that I could have like before and after. Like before all the things. Like if someone comes in and they come in as they are, and then they do the makeup and then the photo and then the post-shop work. I want to kind of do that.
Makeup artist.
Yeah.
Sometimes. You're really good at that. I'm still getting like decent at that. I'm still not the best at because I get really depends on the day again, but I can be like real socially weird, socially awkward. But you're not a good judge of that because you're also weird.
That's true.
I can see in your face you're like, oh, you're weird.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I love you. I think you're awesome.
Yeah, but like especially being around like newer people, sometimes I get real like weird, and like sometimes I'll say things and I'm like, that isn't even like I'm aware of how
And then she
weird
starts
it sounds.
swallowing.
And then I start just swallowing like a maniac. Like, so I'm still getting used to like the social aspect of it because I actually thought for a while, and I'm still doing some of it, and I don't mind it. Some product shooting simply because I don't have to interact with people.
And that's like my worst nightmare. I love interacting.
And I do. The thing is that I love shooting people, right? It's my favorite thing to shoot.
Humans.
But it's the interaction part that sometimes I want to capture them. Sometimes it's real, like, because I'm like, like, I feel weird. Like, do they think that I'm weird? Like, do I sound weird?
No, you're great. I think you're awesome.
I'm getting better at it. I think that's just more. I think it's less to do with the work and just like with my social.
I think maybe
I'm grateful when I have other people on set that they can talk because I'm just not.
Just bring me. I'll be your parrot.
Yeah. I'm like,
hello, hello.
I'm like, hi, stand over there. Thank you.
Look sad. Look angry.
But also having good subjects is so important, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Like you were saying. Because like that's one thing that like it kind of gets to me here is that like it's hard for me to find a lot of people that I want to shoot creatively.
Yeah.
It's really tough. But that's why I self-shoot a lot and shoot a lot of the same people over and over.
Because you vibe with them.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Or because I like their aesthetic. Because I'm real picky sometimes with like aesthetics, but even just like vibe or like what I'm trying to say in my images, I think.
Who's the guy that has all the tattoos I thought was cute?
Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
I love Mike.
Yeah.
This is kind of, I mean, tying into some of that, but what essentials do you recommend for someone if they were like first starting out?
A camera. Definitely a camera. Extra battery packs. Like always have batteries.
The batteries.
Like I have so many batteries and have them charged. Like a simple strobe. You can buy like a strobe that's not even super high wattage for like $200, $300, and like one simple light modifier, like an umbrella or something. And then these panel lights that you can't see that Kael hated on me for.
But now I love.
We love
you
them.
look great.
Yeah, she said that hers were brighter.
Well, they did look very not bright at first, but I feel like maybe my eyes were just not.
No, yours are better. Let's bring yours in next time too. We can have surround sound lights.
Mine actually hurt your eyeballs. They're very, very bright.
Okay.
But I do like panel lights because because photo and video, like some lights are not good for video. So you need the panel lights.
This is true.
And continuous light. Which is crazy because I, in the beginning, I was at the Go Farm in a studio share and we used in-studio strobes, you know, and so I thought that's like what a photo shoot looked like in my head. So like I always thought strobes. And I still do love shooting with strobes. Yep. But I realized that like I can actually do more sometimes with continuous light.
Constantly, yeah.
Which is something that I've learned over time because I think at first you get caught up in like thinking like what you should be using.
Right. Because
it looks better. Like it looks more impressive to have like a big strobe on set, right?
And a ladder.
But, and it is, I mean, strobe lights is, if you want good branding, it's like, but you can get some more creative things with continuous lights and RGBs and things like that. More weird kind of things. And I think for a long time, I didn't really understand that. But even like one of my mentors, he uses a lot of continuous lights. Yeah. And I started, I think, picking up on that.
I used to hate on it. I'm like, oh, it's not
good. Because when it doesn't look as good, you know, like on set, you're like, oh, these little lights. But you can do a lot with those little lights.
Yeah. Even something small, like where I used to purchase the painter's lights that are really inexpensive. I think you could buy like a set of 4 of them for like under $100, and you can just throw them in your bag.
Yeah.
And they change the entire vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still know photographers that use those.
The painter's lights.
Mostly, yeah. And so there's something to that as well. Like don't get so caught up in like what you think you need. I think just start with the basics and find what you like and then experiment a lot.
Yeah. And tons of hours.
Like cameras obviously number one, but it doesn't even like we were talking about, it doesn't even have to be the best camera. Actually, I don't even recommend starting out with the best camera.
No.
I think starting out with something that's in your budget and that you can abuse because you will.
Well, you'll drop it. Lots of things. I really do like what model Nikon did you have?
I think it was a 3200.
Do you say Nikon or Nikon?
Nikon. Okay. It's definitely Nikon.
I hear people be like Nikon.
No.
Nikon.
Incorrect. It's Nikon.
It's Nikon, right?
Definitely Nikon. Unless I'm
Canon. I shoot with a Canon.
Nikon?
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you say Nikon camera?
Sure. Translate into which language?
I'm just kidding. Hold on. I swear, someone was like, I have a Nikon.
Were they?
They were pretentious.
I was going to ask if they were from another country.
No. They weren't like Adidas.
Pretentious.
How to say Nikon. How to say Nikon camera.
Get a whole lot more
Hold on.
Domino's rewards
Commercial.
on new pepperoni stuffed cheesy bread. Free with
Pepperoni
delivery after
cheesy
just 2
bread.
orders for a limited time.
The Japanese pronunciation, in English, Nikon.
The Japanese.
Oh.
But in American, it has now been popular and the norm to pronounce it Nikon. So if you are
So it
in the
depends on
United
where you
States
are.
and you're buying
It's like
a
Porsche and
Nikon
Porsche.
camera, for
Yeah.
example,
So I guess in
ask
Japan,
for a
Nikon.
Okay, cool.
Good to know.
Canon's just Canon, not Canon.
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 Yeah.
Canon. But
I
you
never
had
used a Canon.
You
but
had a Nikon.
I had a Nikon. And you had a Canon.
I had a Canon Rebel, and those were great.
Yeah.
When someone asked me, I'm like, oh, just get a Canon Rebel.
Yeah, those are excellent starting cameras.
Yeah, for sure.
Love it.
Love it. How do you get honest feedback on your work?
Not
Not on Facebook.
Not on Facebook. Actually, I think it's a double-edged question or answer, because I feel like it is important sometimes to get critical feedback, but also part of me is like, no, you don't. Just don't get any, because I think a lot of outside voices can skew what you think. And the most important thing is that you like what you're shooting. So it doesn't really matter how it's affecting other people or if they like it, because they don't have to actually like it, unless they're obviously paying you, unless you're a client. But I think asking somebody, I read this thing that was like, don't take advice from someone you wouldn't trade lives with.
Yeah.
And I really liked that. So like, I kind of think like that, even in the realm of asking for critique or asking for help. I don't really want someone's advice that I don't aspire to be like, or respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
So I think just making sure you are picky about who you ask. What about you?
I take it all. I take it all. And I think when I first was starting, I was like, I was very, very, I guess, more defensive about my work. And now I just kind of like, I want all the constructive criticism, and I will decide, like, I take what I want and I leave the rest.
Mm-hmm.
And I just stopped taking it so personally. Just because, I think we both work with like different agencies and with clients, and like some people like some things, and the things that some people like other people hate.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the client perspective, I keep my standard of my brand of like how I shoot things. But if I'm getting more creative, like I don't really mind the constructive criticism. I just don't take it to heart,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone's eye is different. Like that's what makes us like the human race so awesome, is that like we all like different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the CC, but I also too, like, depending upon who's giving it to me, I will be like, you need to shut the up. And like, I don't want that, because I don't really aspire to have my images look like theirs. Not saying that they're bad, but they're just not my vibe.
Yeah, that kind of is like what I meant by LOL. No, but that's kind of why, like, if you don't like their work, or not necessarily don't like it, but if it's just not something you want to shoot, like, then why are you worried about like what they say about it? Like, they can have their opinion, because that is true that art, that's the weird thing about art, right? Even in other mediums, not just photography or video or anything like that, even like painting, for example, there's a lot of paintings that you might think are absolute shit.
Or I have this like terrible defect that I'm like, I could do that. I'm going to.
Part of them you probably could.
I know.
It's like, but that's the thing about art, is that it's so
I could do
personal and so subjective that, you and I might look at the same piece of art that's wildly famous, and you might like it and I might hate it.
Right.
It doesn't mean that either of us are correct. It's just what's correct to us. So I think that is really smart.
Yes.
Not taking it to heart.
Not
like,
taking it to heart.
Listen to everything, but like, don't take it in.
I think there's some like basic things like backdrop, or where you should have the subject stand, like listen to that. Or like if you're constantly blowing your clients or your subject's face out with light, then yes, listen to that, because people want to see their faces. But
yeah,
for being like edgy or trying something new, it's like, do your thing.
Yeah. And also rules, like, I think rules in art is such a silly concept in general. Like, obviously you want things to look good, but there's also photographers that have banked and became wildly famous on stuff that doesn't necessarily look good technically. You know what I mean? So they just like really lean into like whatever it is, lean into it, because that's the most important thing. I think rules have that's why I think art school and things like that are such a funny concept, because you can learn technical things, but the actual who you are as an artist has to be super true to you. And if you have other people telling you, well, you shouldn't do it that way, you should only do it this way, it kind of wrecks that whole aspect of being an artist, I think. And then it's really tricky. It's tricky. Constructive criticism, yes, from people that you respect and admire, or that you know more than you, but only to a certain degree.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hates it, loves it. Hates it, loves it.
Which would be good.
Let's skip that one.
Oh. What kind of tools do you use for post-processing, and what's your workflow like?
I'm actually trying to get better at this. So now when I shoot, I take my memory card out of my camera and I immediately put it into my computer and I save it to a cloud drive and to one of my either my hard drive that's on my computer or a separate drive. And I do that now a little bit more religiously because I had error and mistake of either my camera was stolen with the memory card in there, so all the work was gone, or I took the memory card and I placed it and water got on the memory card. Just too many things have happened that I have messed up the whole day's worth of work. So now I'm like pretty religious as far as like when I'm done with the shoot, I sit down and I load them. Doesn't mean I'm going to work on them that day. And then after that, I start to cull the photos, which I go through all of them and delete all the ones where they're like blinking or something like that. And then I take a break and then I go back and I go through them again until I keep cutting them down. And I used to not let my clients see the images unedited, and now I do. I'm not as nervous for people to see my work untouched, and so I send them watermarked images. They get to select their final images after I've culled them, just in case they pick images that are like their hands are all crazy or their eyes are crossed or something like that, and then I start retouching them. It's kind of weird. So like certain projects I like to retouch them from, like if I'm shooting Kael all by myself. And now since I'm having more of a workload or I'll have like more corporate things, I will release that power because I don't have any time. I get migraines and my head starts to hurt. So I'll start to now release that to editors and retouchers that I have found to do the retouching of my images, which was really hard for me to let that go all the time. So I still do like the crop, the edit, but the facial retouching was something that I released.
Takes so much time.
Yeah. And then I load them and send them to the client within like 2 to 3 weeks. So I try to keep that pretty regular too, so they can depend on when they're getting their images. So I always stick with 2 to 3 weeks or sometimes 3 to 4 weeks depending upon my workload. And then I delete all my raws. I give them a little bit of a time just to make sure they don't want any extra photos, and then I delete all of them, and that's it.
I keep all my raws.
You keep all your raws?
I keep all the cold out raw. Like
the cold. Yes. No, I don't.
I should start doing that because I think I always am like, what if I want to go back and re-edit one day? But
I never do.
Yeah, I probably won't.
I have some from like a couple of years ago that I kept all of them, and now when I look back at them, I'm like, this is such a shit shoot.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that I feel like as you're growing as an artist, you probably are going to think that because you're years later in your progress. So yeah, maybe I should start doing that.
But then the weird thing too, I'll look back at some shoots that I thought were absolute shit, like terrible, and I'll be like, you're actually pretty good. You know, and I'll be like, how can I go back to that more of that raw aesthetic? Because now I'm not shooting like that as much.
Yeah.
And so I'll look back at some of the shoots I did, like the big collaborative shoots where like I had the models and makeup artists, everyone's working for free, everyone's trying to hustle and get like their portfolios going. Like some of those shoots that I did were like, and I deleted them.
Yeah, I do have a couple that I used to do what you do. I used to trash all of the raw images and I would just keep the finished master JPEGs. There were some on there that now looking back, I wish I did have just because they were good and I wish I could edit because I know I could edit them better now because the editing job was shitty because I didn't know how to edit. Now I know how to edit much better. And my process is similar. I dump as soon as I'm done all the time, even video because I'm afraid of like, what if something happens? I always dump first. I do cull. I'm trying to get better. I'm becoming more cutthroat about culling out because I have a really bad problem of like narrowing down because I like so many. But I also try to shoot. I limit my shoots.
That's what I was just about to bring up.
A lot. I shoot really quick and I shoot as minimal as possible until I know that I got it because I know I have the problem of culling out and like narrowing down. So I try to limit that as much as possible for myself because I know I struggle with it.
I know whenever I shoot with her, I'm like, I'm going to get so many images because she can't make up her mind.
It's hard. Yeah, it's really, really bad for me because I'm like, because I see the way that my mind works, I see things that people wouldn't notice, little small differences are big for me. So like for me, like 2 images, they look almost identical to normal people. For me, I think they're totally different. And it could be something very minuscule like my hand or like the length, like the focal length. I don't know. but I'm trying to get better about releasing that. But like what the biggest advice or the way that I've learned to do that is just literally shooting less so that I have less options to look through. I also send, if you're a paid client, if you're paying me, you can choose.
Yeah.
If it's a creative shot that I'm doing, I'm choosing. It's my creative, you know.
It's tricky though, because I've had clients where like I let them choose and I'm like,
they're really not good at it.
and sometimes no.
Sometimes not all the time.
Not all the time, but sometimes
they're
no.
not good.
And I had one client who I absolutely love. She's one of my favorite people ever. It's like she had asked me a couple times before I was more confident with releasing my work like unedited. Did you go through that too? Where you're like, no, I don't want them to see the raws. Like it's unfinished now.
It depends. If they're a paid client, I always did proofs.
Okay.
But
I did not.
But I also
like I'll select. I'm a gatekeeper.
But I do like what I cull out. Literally anything that I wouldn't want my name on, I get rid of. So like even if it's just like an okay photo, I'm erasing it because like I don't want you to even, because I know that people. I learned that lesson where like I realized that people don't have the creative eye to like discern what is a good image and what is not half the time. So like I kind of make all the images are good that I'm sending you for proofs.
Yeah, no, some of the ones that I guess the one with the client that I've had a couple times, like she picked out all the images, they were great, but like the way her eyes were positioned, it wasn't like she was like cross-eyed or anything like that, but she like I could see looking at him like, oh, she looks like kind of more dead in the face, but her face looked amazing, but her eyes weren't as like bright and like she didn't look as alive. And so then after I had retouched them, and like her eyes are more bright and like her face was alive, she could notice that her eyes weren't as, it bothered her. Right. So there is like that, I don't know, that pitfall of like letting your clients choose, but I don't know. But then I also feel like I have less responsibility of being like, you picked them.
Well, and it cuts out some time of like the culling process or like, you know, kind of narrowing down, just like let them do it. But what I've done is I give them an option to pick a certain number, and then I usually give them a couple that if there's like, I go through the ones that they didn't choose, and if there's like usually 3 to 5 that I'm like, this is a banger. Yeah. I send it to them anyway, because half the time.
And what are we going to do with them?
Yeah. But I realize usually that they will love the images I choose because they are great. But maybe they just don't. I think a lot of them, they're not used to looking at stuff like that all the time either. So they might be looking at any sort of details that aren't necessarily the entire photo as a whole. Right. So I do that now, and that's helped a lot. Like just culling down more and more and more. People don't, I was talking to someone about this recently, but like people don't see, they think what they're paying for is like the photo shoot. In my opinion, what they're paying for is the post, because the post takes so long. And that's why people like Alex that are super busy have to hire an editor, because it takes up, you would not have any time. Like you don't have enough time.
And your eyes will start bleeding.
It's just not conducive to like a healthy workflow. And so I always try to tell people, like, you think my job is done when I walk out the door, that the photos just magically appear amazing. But the editing and the culling, everything like that takes so much time and energy. It takes triple, quadruple the time that a shoot takes. So that's important for people to realize. I feel like they don't really understand.
That is important, but I don't think any of our clients will watch this one.
Probably not. But for other artists, like other photographers that might be wanting to get into it.
Yeah, explaining that process, that like if I time myself in editing an image, like, and I think that's kind of important too. So you can kind of figure out like how much money you're actually making. If this is like your business versus like your hobby, like it's to time yourself. So I would time myself, and I take 15 to 20 minutes per image to edit. If I'm charging,
your rate.
And if I'm charging, I charge $8.50 per session. It's an hour. You get 10 images. So plus my studio, my room and board here, and then the time it takes me to get here, my equipment, the lights, all those things. Like you have to have that within your rate, like the time as well, not just like the cost, because your time is money.
And not the hourly, because people think, oh, I'm going to come in for an hour. It's just an hour. Yeah. Why is it almost $1,000? Well, because it's going to take me 20 hours. Yeah,
it does. It takes hours, 6 hours.
So people don't really, I've noticed that people don't understand that. Unless you're doing it, they just don't get it. And so I'm like, I've realized as well that like I'm much more good now about setting boundaries from the get, right? Like this is how I operate. You don't get sneak peeks. You don't get anything like that. So don't even ask. Like I said, a week is going to be a week unless you want to pay my rush fee. and then you can bump to the front of the line. But I think people start respecting that, and they understand more if you explain it.
100%.
Which I think is really important from the beginning, is like kind of setting yourself up, because we've both been there where we're doing so many shoots, we're like drowning in edits, and
Yeah, we went for a
not,
time that we were like almost depressed because we had so many edits.
It's not sustainable, and it also doesn't make it enjoyable. And this work should be, the reason why we do it is because it is so enjoyable for us. So like,
how did you get into it though? That was a big question. Like, how did you get into the camera?
That should have been a
That's okay.
First question.
But how did you like start?
So I've always loved photography. As a kid, I always wanted to shoot things. Like I would buy those little disposable cameras and just shoot everything. I have pictures of random stuff. I would also set up my toys and take pictures of them. And my parents would be very upset with me because it cost money to develop rolls of film. And so
aging us.
They would be pissed because they would get all these rolls of film and it's like a rock. And they're like, what were you shooting? And I'm like, I thought it was pretty. Okay. Like I'm artistic.
Yeah.
And that was me for a long time. And then I thought I wanted to model. I've always known I wanted to do something in like the artistic world. The 9-to-5 office job has just never been for me.
You don't want to be a bank teller?
No.
Not hating bank tellers. I'm so sorry. I don't mean it like that. You're great. You're amazing.
Yeah, but like there's some people that are really good at like, you know, that's what they love to do. They just like, you know, the human interaction of it or the simplicity of whatever. But I was just never into anything that was, I needed to do something weird or creative or whatever. So I thought I wanted to model. At the time though, I was in like a little modeling school and little modeling agency and trying to act as well. I think that was like when I was like 16-ish. But back then it was a lot different than it is now, because now the thing is ambiguity. It's ambiguous models. It's people that look different or with like, you know, like piercings and like all of that stuff is in. Back then, not that I had this or tattoos back then, but I was too, I wasn't commercial enough to do commercial catalog modeling. And then I wasn't tall enough to do runway and high fashion. So they didn't really have a place to put me. So like I was in this weird, they were like, your face is like high fashion editorial. Your height is catalog. And there wasn't a market for that. So I struggled with that a lot. I did a little bit better with acting because the height wasn't really an issue. But even then it was still really hard. No one really wanted like a mixed, like you didn't really see that. Like everything that was big was all just like one type of person. Unfortunately, but that's just the truth. Now it's totally different. And so then I got into makeup because I wanted to do something. So I was like, well, if I can't be in front of the camera, I'll be in the, you know, behind the scenes. And I really thrived at makeup for years and years. And then I kind of jumped back into modeling when I got older, like 18 to 25-ish. You know, I started modeling again just for like more, because then it was like more the edgy alternative type modeling. And I was like, oh, I can do that all day, tits out, you know? And then through that, I like found my love for photography and being around photographers and becoming friends with them. And then I was like, I think I want to do that again. So then I just jumped right back in. I quit my job, my makeup job at the time, which people thought I was mental because I was making hella money for my age. I think that was 24. And I quit my job right away. Got a studio at the goat farm and just started shooting and pretending I knew what I was doing.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, but I had always had the eye, but I didn't have the technical skills, which I've gained, but I still am not super technical. What about you?
So same thing. I remember my parents would when I was a kid, they would put limits on the amount of film I would develop. So it was like 2 rolls a week, which I was like really lucky. But I was always really fixated on time and how fast it was moving, like since a kid. So I would take photographs of everything because I knew that it wouldn't stay the same. And I'm still like that now, but I would take pictures of my like wallpaper, or like, remember there used to be like a border around your room?
What is wallpaper border?
Border? Yeah. Like I would take pictures of that. Like I knew it was going to change, or I knew I was going to move from the house, or like, I was very fixated on like death too as a kid. So like I would make sure to take pictures of all my animals, and not going too much into my background of interesting things. But I would be really obsessed with the movement of time and like how little time I had on this planet and how little time I would get to have with things that I loved. So I would take photographs of everything, and like all through school too. So anyone that I went to school with, like I probably have a photograph of them. Like I was obsessed with bringing my camera, and I also always felt like more included when I had the camera, and like I was known as like the girl that always had the camera. And so I did get into photography that way, and I did darkroom stuff at like a local park. And then as time went on, I kind of went down a different road where I was partying a lot, and I did modeling. I was with an agency when I was, in my teens, and I did have the look that I was blonde and my height, and so I did get some work when I in the early 2000s. I stopped out of it, and I was like in the bar scene and bartending, and I just went down a different road and I didn't do anything creatively because I was partying all the time. And I was still modeling every once in a while and meeting photographers along the way. And same as you, once I got sober, I had a mentor of mine that was like, just pick something and to be like super passionate about. And so I picked photography, and that was like, so I got sober almost 6 years ago. So I picked it a year before I got officially clean and stayed clean. I just ran with it, and I needed to replace, something within my brain. And so I just like kept studying photography and got better and got obsessed with it to keep my mind occupied from what I was healing from. So that's how I got into it. The end. The end. But yeah, I'm so happy though that I am. It's changed my life. Everything in my life is because of the camera. Everything.
Yeah.
Like you, like everyone I know, everyone that's in my life, not everyone, but most is from me pushing a button and capturing them and like having that connection. Like I don't know what I would do without it.
It's such a big, if you are that kind of person that's like, you are kind of like your art form, which I think every artist is, it kind of bleeds. There's like a lot of other people, like what they are, their occupation is just their job. And then they go home, and then they're at home, and then they have their life, and they take their vacations or whatever. I don't think that we as artists do that. It's just like we're constantly living the artist lifestyle. We are the art, right? And so I think that it becomes like an integral part of you. And also that you capture things in time. There was something when you said that, I think it's on my website actually, is like my little tagline quote in my about me area. But it's something like photography is like making a fleeting moment like eternal, right? It's like you're freezing this one little thing. It will never be the same no matter what you're shooting. And it's a like little time capsule for forever.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really important to that and magical to it. I think that's why we continue to do it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think too, which is really weird for me when I'm taking photographs of someone else, like I get out of self. Like it's like a creative circus in my mind, and I almost get a break from me shooting. Like I get a break from actually like thinking about what I am worried about or what's going to happen tomorrow. Like I can be completely present when I'm photographing someone. So I think that made me even more like obsessed with the craft or with our art, just because I got like the sense of freedom from myself. It's good shit.
Good shit. I think we did good.
I think we did pretty good.
Yeah.
I think we did. Should we end with a critique?
Oh yeah. Let's end with a critique, and we'll put the what we're critiquing up on that.
So yeah, you go. No, you do it.
At the end, we're going to talk about, it could be anything, any photo that we've seen, good or bad. We're going to just post it here, and also don't come for us, don't cancel us. Okay, we're not being mean girls. We're just saying what we think about it.
What we would do differently.
Bad, what we would do differently, because I know there's a lot of photos that I've taken over the years that I would also go back and be like, and maybe we could do that too.
Oh yeah,
like go back
smart.
to some of our old photos and be like, girl.
I like that. I like that. I think that's good.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put what we're talking about here so you guys can see.
Okay. So
you want to go first?
Sure. So I think, so this was an obvious, like a client paid shoot. I would say one of the things that I would have done, I think there's like a really beautiful sunset that's going on in the background. But it looks like the back, there's like two little ghosts. I would have framed it a little differently, like not included the ghosts. And got rid of the pillows in there, for sure.
Hello.
There's pillows on the side over here.
Oh.
This is like a newer photographer. This one was the one that was unedited and someone edited it.
Oh, I
So,
gotcha.
it's definitely a newer photographer, which is, it's great. It's amazing. It's awesome. We're checking it out. We're trying different sets. We have humans. I don't like doing maternity because it can either look amazing or it's going to look absolute trash. I'm not saying this looks trash, but I would say that I would get rid of the backdrop or zoom in a little bit closer so you don't see the ghosts. That would be my biggest one. And posing for maternity, I always try to have the woman kind of shifting so that her stomach is showing so that you can tell more that it is a maternity shoot, because it can also not look like that. So I would say have the person out on an angle. That's the pregnant person, and on an angle. Your turn.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Actually,
I'm going to be the only one in trouble here. I agree.
No, I actually didn't. Okay, so I immediately thought ghost when I saw this. I was like, is this a spooky shoot? Is it like a Halloween shoot? I actually didn't even notice that she was pregnant until I like really was looking, because the first thing I noticed was the 2 little floating ghosts. So just make sure you have your subject. You want obviously whatever you're shooting to be the main event, right? You don't want there to be a lot of distractions. You want them to be like, for sure this is like a pregnancy shoot. And there is a way to I do like the concept of like outside backdrops, but like showing the surroundings of the backdrop.
I do
There
too.
was a way to do this that could have looked very aesthetically pleasing and like storytelling, where if they would have had it maybe like a normal backdrop setup with like a cloth,
because they were trying to go for the bohemian look here.
yes, and that could have definitely worked. I just think I would have actually hung the backdrop on like a something.
What did they hang it on now?
It looks like there's like literally things there, and then they threw the sheets over, and they're like draping on something, but I don't know what the thing is that's behind it.
Huh.
Also, I don't love these plants because I think you're outside, so there's plants. I think it would have been better to have some flowers, or for holding some plants would have been kind of the same vibe, but more, I don't know, just storyline. I'm always thinking about like story when I'm shooting. So I also am not a huge maternity person. I will do it, and I will do it really well, but it's not my thing that I want to advertise myself as. Because you can go cheesy really quick. The way that they edited the light is much better.
It's pretty, yep.
So whoever did the editing was great.
Yep, I agree. I also too, I'm not a big fan. I can tell this was like in the fall. I'm not a fan of, so I think your scene in the time of year is huge, but like having it on grass when the grass is brown and dead, like it's not good when there's new life coming in.
Yeah.
Something with like knowing your subject, what you're shooting. A cute couple though, and I like that they're beige and whatnot. Beige clothes. It was cute. I like the beige.
Like the direction is there, but the main thing is the ghost. You gotta get rid of the ghost.
Ghost. We did it. Thanks for watching.
Our first one.
Yay!
So, I don't know how we're gonna try to do these. I would say realistically, in the beginning, probably like once a month or twice a month, like every other week would be an attainable thing because we're both so busy. But yeah, we're gonna try to be really consistent with it.
I'm excited.
Year and see. Yeah.
I'm stoked. What if we become like international sensations? Even national, even just in a 10-mile radius, I'd be happy.
Yeah, even in the general vicinity.
Sony,
Call us.
call us. Bye.